Hello and welcome to the Irish Aesthete. Today I want to begin talking about Plantation Castles, a range of domestic residences built predominantly in the first decade of the 17th century and found throughout Ireland's northern province of Ulster. Here, for example, is Castle Balfa, located on the edge of Lisnaskea, County Fermanagh. As we shall see, the story of its construction is typical of such buildings. It was erected by one James Balfa, an adventurer from Scotland who, like so many of his fellow countrymen, was encouraged to come to Ireland by James I in the aftermath of the Battle of Kinsale in 1601 and the departure from this country 6 years later of several key Gaelic chieftains, an event which came to be known as the Flight of the Earls. Their territories, predominantly in Ulster, such as the lands here at Crum, also in County Fermanagh, were then seized by the government and granted to settlers, known to be loyal to the Crown and Protestant, the majority of them being, like the King, of Scottish origin. Having taken control of more than 500,000 acres, the new arrivals were understandably much resented by the native Irish, and so the houses they built, such as Portora Castle, again in Fermanagh, had a strongly defensive character since they were subject to regular attack. Nevertheless, the buildings were more comfortable, more spacious, and admitting more light, as can be seen with this remaining wall of the former castle in Newtown Stewart, County Tyrone, which was constructed around 1619. Now, as mentioned, a lot of these buildings are today in ruins, and in fact, they tended to have a remarkably short lifespan. Come the Confederate Wars of the 1640s, the native Irish did their best to destroy these hated symbols of the new order. Only a small number survived, such as sections of Enniskillen Castle. In fact, this had originally been a fortress of the Maguire family, and after being subject to repeated attacks during the 16th century, it was eventually acquired by William Cole, for once not a Scotsman, but a Londoner. It was Cole who gave the castle much of its present appearance, but the reason for its survival is that the site later became a military barracks and was therefore kept in use. Other buildings didn't fare so well. This is Tully Castle to the north of Enniskillen and on the western side of Loch Erne Lower. It was built by the Scottish settler Sir John Hume between 1611 and 1613. According to the Survey of Ulster Counties conducted by Nicholas Pinner in 1618-1619, Tully was then composed of a bourne of lime and stone, 100 feet square, 14 feet high, having 4 flankers for defence, and inside this, a fair, strong castle, 50 feet long and 21 feet broad. The Scottish influence is apparent in Tully's design, not least in the steep gable ends of the castle, and once more the upper floors were used for accommodation and entertaining, the ground floor being for storage and defence. Ultimately, it proved to be of no avail in 1641, when, like so many others, the castle was attacked by the Maguires. At the time, Sir John's son George was away, so his wife Mary was left to guard Tully, into which residents of the adjacent settler village had crowded. Greatly outnumbered, Mary Hume negotiated a surrender that was supposed to include safe passage for all of those inside the building once it, and all firearms, had been handed over to the Maguires. In the event while she and her family were permitted to leave, everyone else, said to have been 15 men and 60 women and children, were kept inside and massacred, after which the castle was set on fire. It has remained a ruin ever since. And in the next episode, we'll look at one of Tully Castle's neighbours and see what became of it. I look forward to seeing you then. Meanwhile, thank you so much for watching The Irish Aesthete. Goodbye.